Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chronicles of Hollywood History, past, present, and future. Welcome. And here now, Corey Gomez.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Chronicles of Hollywood History, past, present, and future. Today, I am joined by Mr. Michael Matsuda. He's here to talk to us. About the Martial Arts Museum. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Corey. A pleasure to be on here. It's my honor, sir.
Well, now, I guess, if you're have to do with the Martial Arts Museum, you must have a martial arts background.
Yeah, I do. I'm doing it 52 years now. Wow. I'm an old fart.
What styles do you study?
Well, back in the 60s, the only thing we could do was judo. That was the first, most everybody's first style. And I started that around 68. But, actually, I had done a few other interviews telling everybody the same year. And it wasn't until someone brought up attention of somebody's name, and I go, my God, wait a minute, I have to change everything. In 1967, a guy was teaching me Kung Fu, one of Ark Wai Wong's students, and I completely forgot about that. So I have to erase all my history, change it to 1967, starting with Kung Fu. Then I started with Judo at the Japanese Karate Center. Did Judo for a while. Hated it galore because I was a little kid in there. They threw us around. Back then, you couldn't study martial arts until you were 16. But because I was going to the Japanese Community Center, they allowed us to. We were only like 8. And they just threw us like rag dolls everywhere. And then from judo, I went into jiu-jitsu, and then did karate. But then this guy came in the studio. He had an all-black outfit, looked really cool. Got these high collars. He had these wavy moves. And his name was Al Dacascos. I said, that's it. That's what I'm going to study. So in the meantime, I was doing jiu-jitsu and karate. I was looking for a kung fu school. And boom, I found a Kung Fu school under Buxom Kong Kung Fu school. I studied with him under Shaolin for over a decade. And then one of my friends was doing another martial arts style. It was called Monkey Kung Fu. Mm-hmm. So we started doing both together, the Shaolin Kung Fu and the Monkey Kung Fu. And then I studied with him for 35 years doing Monkey Kung Fu. So that was my primary art. My funnest art is the Shaolin art, but the Monkey Kung Fu has been a primary art for me as well. So I've been doing that for over 35 years for Monkey Kung Fu. So, 52 years of it. I did a little kickboxing with Cecil Peoples, a great instructor, great friend. I just talked to him a few minutes ago. And did a little bit of Jeet Kune Do under one of Danny Dos Santos' students. And I just dabbled in that for a little bit. But I had a lot of fun doing the kickboxing. That was quite a great workout. But that's my quick martial arts background of 52 years kind of squished in there.
Now, when you trained with Al Dacascos, was Mark a student yet at that time?
Well, I didn't train with Al. Al and I both studied under Buxom Kong. Al didn't live in the area, or at least I didn't know where he lived, and I didn't know where he had a school. So I had to look for a Kung Fu school, and I couldn't find Al's, but I found Buxom Kong school, so I studied with Buxom Kong. But lo and behold, Al Dacascos also studied with Buxom Kong years ago as well. Not at the same time, but years ago. So I never got to study with Al, but I do know him, but I never got to study with him.
What weapons did you learn?
Staff has been my favorite one. I do the broadsword, the Tai Chi sword, and the staff. So I had a lot of fun with that. I think the broadsword's the funnest. But those are the 3 main ones. The other ones, I piddle around with, knock my head with the nunchakas, Didn't like that. Tried 3 signal staff, whacked my head too many times. And I said, I'm going to stick with my 3, and that's it. And that's all I've ever done since. I never even ventured into the other ones.
I like staff. Staff is my favorite, followed by screamas, just because, they're practical. You can pick up a broom, a shovel, a mop. You always got one. But, when I tried the 3-section staff for the first time, I was terrible at it, and I never tried it for a second.
he used to wear a helmet on it, and I banged that helmet so many times. I said, I'm not going to get this.
I was.
I'd see Al Leong do it, and I said, "How do you do it?" You know, I couldn't. I would go over to his school, you know, where Doug Wong's school, and watch Al Leong, and I couldn't see how that guy does it. And I said, "I ain't gonna do that weapon. You can do it. I'm not gonna do it." So,
I mean, I did it when I went real slow, not too bad. But the minute I tried to get a little fancier and like do the spin over my head, I hit like my right shoulder, my left side of my head, and it was just a mess.
oh yeah, it's a strange weapon.
Yeah, there's a guy at my dojo that actually practices with it. He's really good, but yeah, I'll just stick with the normal staff. I got a retractable one not that long ago, so I can at least make it look neat when I pop it open before I flip it.
Very cool.
So now, who was obviously then you were a big fan of martial arts films when you were younger as well as today, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah. Back around the late '60s, the Shaw Brothers started sending their movies to America, and it first went to Chinatown before it got into the mainstream America. So I went to Chinatown every weekend. I would go, Doug Wong would go, James Liu would go, all of us would go. We didn't know each other well, but we were there at the same time, you know, and we were watching all the Kung Fu movies at the Kim Sing Theater in Chinatown every weekend. That place was so packed. It was all in Chinese, so I actually went to school to learn Chinese just so I could watch the movies. But the subtitles, you know, after a while, the subtitles were like you were actually hearing them talk, you know, after a while. Mm-hmm. But that's where I was. I was watching every single Shaw Brothers movies. There was 2 movies at the same time, you know, one right after the other with a half-hour intermission showing the other movies. And it was a blast. I used to go again every weekend, and I would see Doug Wong there and James Liu there, and everybody was there. And it was just like you know, it's just a great time watching the movies. And, you know, I think my favorite was the Shaw Brothers, Alexander Fu Shang. He became my inspiration. That was the guy that I wanted to emulate because he did the same style as I did. So that was it. I was sold on Alexander Fu Shang, and then the rest of them, you know, Chen Quan Tai and David Chiang, and all of them became household names after a while. But they were a blast. I still love the Kung Fu movies today.
You know, let me ask, because you were around then when it came out, so you would have saw it right away. What was your impressions of the Street Fighter with Sonny Chiba? You know, it's so notorious for that X rating nowadays. What was it like when that came out?
You know, all I watched was the Kung Fu movies, the Chinese Kung Fu movies. Sonny Chiba was a Japanese movie, mm-hmm. and it wasn't shown there at the Chinese movie theater. So I never saw it. And I still never saw it, you know. So I heard about it, but I was too involved with seeing the Kung Fu movies. And, you know, back then in the late 60s and early 70s, there was no VHS, there was no DVD, there was nowhere to see it. So if you didn't go to the theater to see it, you know, you couldn't see it. And I was still a little kid, you know, I was still, 12, 13 years old. And I couldn't get into theater anyway, you know, to see that kind of a movie, an R-rated movie. But the Kung Fu movies I could. But again, it was all in Chinatown. So any age, they didn't care how old you are, how bloody it was. They didn't care in Chinatown. And there were no ratings there.
So when I was a kid, the first martial arts movie, I don't know if it's first I saw, but the one that made me want to start learning it, which I did years and years ago, was Kill and Kill Again with James Ryan. And then I was young enough to where the big explosion, you know, Revenge of the Ninja, Enter the Ninja, the American, the whole ninja craze. So, you know, I was one of those kids that had, you know, I mean, parents were different back then. You know, I had swords and stars. Didn't know what to do with them, but I mean, I had all these ninja weapons. I still have the belt buckle that is the star like you had in Revenge. But that's when I saw that you had the actual at the museum, the mask that the evil Braden wore in Revenge of the Ninja. I got very excited there. That's because that movie is very special to me.
Oh yeah, I love the ninja movies. When I was going in the early '70s, I was around 1972, around there. Because of all the kung fu movies all over, the martial arts schools were packed. We had to practice in the parking lot because everybody wanted to learn martial arts because of the movies were coming out. People were starting to see it. And then when the ninjas came out, that was just, I couldn't get enough. Nine Deaths of the Ninja and Enter the Ninja and all that stuff. And I, just like you, I bought shurikens. They're not real. You couldn't even stick to the wall. But it was still cool to have, So I love the Shokasugi craze and all that. That was a great time in history of all those movies from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and so on. So movies, I think, have a huge influence on the martial arts history and the schools and everything. It changed the world forever. Martial arts movies, it really did.
Yeah, around here when the craze hit, because I'm in the Midwest, we had a taekwondo school and a judo school. And I ended up doing judo because I wasn't really built for taekwondo. I wasn't very good. I had friends that did it, so I did judo. Then as I got older, more and more schools started opening, so then I went to Tang Sudo. Now I do Kenpo. Soon I've actually got to move a little bit. But yeah, it seemed like once those movies hit, at least where I was, that's when more and more schools started becoming more prominent.
Oh, yeah, everything changed. Back in 45, 46, when The Blood and the Sun came out with James Cagney, that's when judo got popular. Judo schools were popping up everywhere. And then with Billy Jack, that's when that opened up the boom for the kung fu movies, and that's when all the kung fu schools and martial arts schools and karate schools and you name it, whatever school came out because of the movies. I remember going to Benny Yukita's school. I grew up near Benny, his house not too far away, and he had on his school karate and kung fu. Everybody was adding that, because of the movies. Mm-hmm. And then I go, what kind of kung fu do you do? Oh, we don't do kung fu. We just do elements of kung fu. I said, oh, okay. So I went somewhere else. Yeah, it was a fun time. It was just booming. People were kung fu schools, karate schools, judo schools. Everything was popping up all over. It was a great time in history.
So now what made you decide to launch the Martial Arts History Museum?
Oh, craziness, that's what it is. Doing martial arts since the 60s, you get to know everybody, I remember when Fumio first came here, Fumio Demura first came here. I remember shaking his hand when I was like 10 years old or 11 years old when he did a demonstration and stuff like that, and something like that. The years get blurred when you get my age. But I remember all of these guys at Bang Han when he first came here, and all those guys coming here who were really nobody in anybody else's eyes. They weren't making history yet. Chuck Norris was just a competitor, and these guys were just, getting out there and to grow up with them, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And see them, they got in the magazines came out, and this guy this, and this guy this, and you got to see that history personally, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You got to really experience it. You were there, like, it's kind of funny, we have people come in to the museum sometimes, and they'll start saying things. I said, no, that didn't happen then. Well, how do you know? Because I was there. So, having that wonderful history, I thought it was important that somebody do something to keep that history alive. I had written for the magazines Black Belt and Inside Kung Fu a total of 20 years, and as a freelance journalist. And then I had my own magazine for many years. But I thought one of the best things to do to keep our history alive, and there was nobody doing it, is to make a museum. A museum would keep that history of what somebody did, or how martial arts changed America and changed the world and changed movies, and the fun experience and the wonderful experience that I had and many other people had as well. I think it would be wonderful to have a museum That way, that history won't be lost or forgotten, because after our generation is gone, nobody's going to remember who was who. You know, who remembers James Cagney, or who remembers Charlie Chaplin, you know, if you're a new generation, you know, and how sad it will be if people like, you know, Takaboda, or, you know, a lot of these people, Hio Cho, everything they sacrifice and the prejudice they face and the racism they face when they first came here to America, and they still brought the arts to America, and how sad it will be that all that history will be lost. So I thought I knew how to do this, and I can go into that a little bit later, but I knew what to do. And I said, okay, if it has to be someone to throw the first pebble in the water, I guess it has to be me. And so that's what I did. I felt it was the right thing to do. And I'll go into building it later, but I thought it was the right thing to do. And that's in a nutshell, quick nutshell. That's kind of why I started. How's that?
When you started it, how hard was it? Like, did you know what you wanted to put in there? I guess, like, you know, did you know, like, I want this sword from this film, or this picture from this show? Did you have any kind of idea, you know, how it was going to start, or did it all just kind of build itself?
Well, you know, to start a museum, and I say this with all sincerity, to start a museum, I did not want to start the museum unless I knew what I was doing. I said, okay, it has to be run like a business. Okay, I need to learn how to this and this. So I went back to school for another 10 years. When I closed the magazine, I had my own magazine. I sold it in 1988. I went back to school I got a business degree. I got a journalism degree. I went to the American Film Institute to learn how to direct and produce and shoot movies. I went to learn how to do a museum. I went to learn design. I went to learn photography. I went to learn every single aspect that I would need to know to run a museum. I think I didn't want to be someone just to plop stuff on the wall and without any foundation, without any backing, without, you know what I mean, just throw something on the wall, call yourself a museum. Mm-hmm. No, it needs to be like the Natural History Museum, and all these people have all these degrees and all this, and they learn how to make the artifacts and design stuff, and that's what I did. I went back to school to learn everything before I even did step day one, before I did the museum. So once I felt I learned all I could in education for a museum, then I created a movable exhibit, a display, and took that all around to see if people were going to be interested in having a museum. If not, I wasn't going to do it. Mm-hmm. But lo and behold, people wanted a museum. Then I said, okay, now what is the museum going to be about? Is it going to be a who's who? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be on that? So this was my experiment. When I took the museum on the road for several years, we started with a small little booth, and then we ended up as 1,000 square foot exhibit. We traveled all over the place. And we would test the waters to see what people wanted, what people enjoyed. You know, we tried a who's who, which was our worst, because nobody knew who they were. I mean, we know who Bill Wallace is. We know who Benny Keat is. We know who they are, but nobody else knows. Nobody can relate. And nobody wanted to read anything or look at anything. So I said, okay, we got to figure out what to do. So after analysis and going through everything, we have looked at martial arts as focusing mostly on Asian art, not completely, but mostly on Asian art and its impact on Asia and how it came to America and changed our history, changed our movies, changed our schools, changed our animation, changed all that, and how that history that people came out of it, Chuck Norris came out of it, Joe Louis, and how tournaments blended into that and changed American history. So it's a look at history and culture how it came from China, Japan, and all that, and how it made an impact of the samurai, and how the Boxer Rebellion was part of China, and the Philippine stick fighting was part of the Philippines, and all that history, and then how it came to America from Theodore Roosevelt to James Bond to all these different things, and how the tournaments influence. So now you have a whole look at cultural and history and blending in with the tournaments and the impact of the Olympics and all that. So now we have created something that people can relate to. Our animation section, our movie section, it tells the history of martial arts in the movies, from James Cagney or Anime Wong, all the way up to Billy Jack, and, all the way through until today. So it's a nice look at culture and history, and that's what, through our surveys and through all our exhibits and displays, that's what people wanted to see, and sure enough, that's what we found out, and that's what the museum's about.
Now, when it came time to getting like those displays and that, was it hard to get your hands on a lot of that stuff, or were people pretty accommodating for it?
It was the easiest thing in the world to do.
Wow.
Doing the martial arts since '67, you get to know everybody, especially when you write for the magazines. Curtis Wong from Inside Kung Fu, I knew all those guys, everybody. So when you grow up with those guys, and I said, okay, guys, I met with Doug Wong, I met with other people, I'm going to start a display, I'm going to do an exhibit. Can you lend me your lion? Sure, here you go. Can you lend me a samurai? Sure. Boom, everybody was lending me stuff galore to help me get the exhibit. So we never had, to this day, a problem of getting items. Everybody is so accommodating, and either they loan it to us or give it to us, like the ninja mask, the one we were talking about. It was there in Steve Lambert's drawer for like 10 or more years, 20 years. And he goes, what am I doing looking at it in my drawer? It should be in a museum so everybody can enjoy and I can visit every time. And that's what he did. He donated to the museum, and what better place to have it so he can always see it there rather than in the drawer. You know what I mean? So we've never had a problem getting items. All of our items are donated, or 90% are donated. Maybe like a few percent are on loan, but maybe 99% are donated. So we've never had a problem getting items. We've never really searched it out as because of space-wise. But when we need it, we know where it's at. You know what I mean? Like Graciela Casillas' outfit she used in kickboxing. It was just here the other week, and I said, "Hold on to it, Graciela, till we get a bigger place. Then we'll display it." We got these huge icons uniforms. We have Saul Kaiwal's uniform. We have Fumio Demura's uniform. Tino Sega's uniform. We have Chuck Liddell's shorts. We have all these people's uniforms that they have happily donated to the museum, that we will eventually, when we get a bigger place, show them all. But now we rotate them a little bit. But we've never had any problem getting artifacts.
What are some of the most popular ones people like to look at?
The Karate Kid headband, they love that one. And that's the actual one given to me by the prop guy that took it off Ralph Macchio's head and gave it to me, which is pretty good. I even have the actual first coat of Ralph Macchio from the first movie. The prototype before the other coat was made, I have that in storage. Yeah, we got some really cool stuff in here, and I'm very honored that people would have them in here. It's great to have them displayed for people to enjoy and appreciate it, and that's what it's about. People just, little kids just love this. Little kids have never heard of this stuff, and all of a sudden they're getting introduced to, the ninja mask, which they, in somebody's drawer, they never see, you know what I mean? But now they're getting to see it. So, as we continue to grow, we'll be asking more and more people for different artifacts as we go along. And everybody's been really accommodating, so we haven't had a problem yet.
Do you ever get bothered, like people like me, not that I'm bothering you, but like collectors that are like, man, will you sell me this? Boy, I'd sure love to buy that. Do you get a lot of people that bother you about things like that?
The only one that we've had is for the mask. We've had 2 people now, maybe 3, asking to buy the Ninja mask. But the rest of the people, to us, this stuff is valuable. You know what I mean? This outfit or that thing or the flying guillotine and that we have here and other stuff, it's to us, and it's priceless. It means so much. But to the general public, it doesn't sell a lot. I mean, we had a shirt signed by, it was a big thing we did, and Chuck Norris signed, Bong So-han signed, you name it. We had 10 of the top biggest competitors, icons of the martial arts on the Jackie Chan, all of them, and we couldn't sell that shirt more than $50.
That's crazy.
So I know to us it's valuable. To other people, it doesn't have that attachment, the sentimental attachment. So they don't see the value like we see the value. You know what I mean? So we haven't had anybody asking to buy anything. We once had a sword seminar. We've had many sword seminars where we bring in the expert from the A&E History Channel to look at our swords. People bring in their swords and have them appraised and all that. So we've had things like that go on where people can, buy swords and stuff like that. But, again, it hasn't been, I haven't had much people ask to buy anything here.
What, is the Ninja display pretty popular?
Yeah, the Ninja display, it's not a big display. I actually have more stuff already on the Ninja. And they enjoy that as well. We need more stuff. We really do. But we just don't have enough space right now for me to bug people galore for it. I've talked to Stephen Hayes, and we're going to get his uniform, but I don't want it now until we have more room, because storage is not our friend right now. So I put up enough to be enjoyable and not be cluttered, like throwing stuff all over the place. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's pleasing. You can read everything. It's roomy enough, and I took a great deal of time designing this place, and so that people can enjoy it and walk through it. Even though it's a limited space, they're in here for quite a while, really enjoying it. And I think we did a great job designing this place.
Now, are you open right now because of the COVID, or are you guys closed?
We are. The museum store is open.
Gotcha.
But if someone drops $10 out of their pocket, they can walk through the museum.
Very cool.
So that's what I'm saying.
What's the address of the museum there for people that are in the area?
It's 2319 West Magnolia Boulevard in the city of Burbank. It's open Thursday through Sunday, 11 to 6.
Now, when the COVID's over, do you plan on, when you can be back up fully, or do you plan on doing a lot of seminars, autograph signings, exhibitions, stuff like that?
That's the beauty of the museum. The museum alone, and I say this to any other people that want to try a museum, the thing about a museum, the people coming in the door does not pay for the place. I can tell you that. Does not pay for the place. It is the events that pay for everything. We have, that's our biggest thing at the Martial Arts History Museum, our events. We have a back area that we have a canopy and all that, make it look really nice. And we throw 3 events a month before COVID. One day honoring somebody. So, for example, we'll spend 2 hours honoring somebody's history. We'll do a video of them. We'll read a biography of them. We'll put on a good show for them. And it's honoring that person. It's called their day, like Cecil People's Day. Mm-hmm. And we will pack it out. From 80 to 200 people will come here, all paying to come in and giving honor to Cecil or whoever. We've done many, many, many people that way. And people fly in from everywhere just to come to that event. The reason why they come, think of it as a memorial, but you're still alive. And that people are here to celebrate your life and say thank you for what you've done for me. And believe me, people fly in, from everywhere. People who haven't seen someone in 25, 30 years, they're here just to come and pay their respects. So we have those events, then we have book signings we do every month, and then we have craft fairs, and we have concerts in the back, small concerts, and we have techniques time seminar, even small dinners. There's always something going on at the museum at least 3 times a month, and that's what brings in the funding for the museum, plus our big convention, Dragon Fest, as well. But we do the events that is our biggest draw, and every time we throw an event, 90% of the people have never been at the museum before, so it's getting a new crowd every single week almost. So that's our events is our really big thing, and people really enjoy it.
Now, are you going to be doing Dragon Fest again when you're able to?
I hope so. Dragon Fest has been a great effort for us. Started by Gerald Kimura many, many years ago, and we used to do. Matter of fact, I did the website for Gerald.
Great guy.
And it was a lot of fun to do. We had a booth at most of his events, not all of them, but most of them, especially toward the last 7 years. I think he held it for 9 years, I think, something like that. And we did it for 6 or 7, about 6 years. And so we had a convention, we had a booth there for the museum, and then when he closed it up, there was a big gap for like 10 years. And when we started the museum, everybody kept bugging us, you got to do Dragon Fest, you got to pick up Dragon Fest, And I said, oh, okay, and I had already run conventions for the company I used to work for. We did conventions. So I was already the director of the San Fernando Valley Health Fair and several other conventions I was already directing and managing and coordinating. So I said, okay, we'll do Dragon Fest. We'll do it here at the museum. And then after about 3 weeks, I said, okay, it ain't going to hold everybody at the museum. We better get a place. So sure enough, we had to get a big place, and just day one, Dragon Fest picked up from where it left off, and everybody was there packing it out, and every year it's continued to grow and grow and grow. My hope is to be Comic-Con, or at least almost Comic-Con, in a few years. This would have been our biggest one this year. But, COVID hit and ruined everything. And let's see if they're going to stay open, and what's going to happen this year. I am planning to make up for the time and have an extra big convention. But hopefully we can do that, and that'll be a blast to have again. It was a lot of fun. Dragon Fest it's not just a convention. It is a reunion. People come to Dragon Fest, you name it, they're there. It's a way to see everybody you have not seen in decades, and there they are, It's a place to catch up. It's like a high school reunion, but on a huge scale. Besides a convention, it's a home feeling. People go there, and it feels like you're home. And they get there at 10 o'clock, and they don't leave until it closes. They just stay there and hang out because it feels like you're home. And that's what I wanted, that feeling. And sure enough, we do that every year.
Well, on the day, for people listening, on the day we're recording this, it is the day that they started doing the vaccinations here in the United States for the COVID. So hopefully that all goes well. And this time next year, I'll be talking to you at a Dragon Fest at the museum.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. How wonderful to have the vaccine, how wonderful. Let's hope we could all get it on time.
Yes. Yeah.
But, I want to say, the museum has been not an easy journey. Okay, it has not been easy. We've had a lot of people against us. You would be surprised, and a lot of things trying to block us to make it happen. But I can say without a doubt, this has been such a wonderful journey. People always ask me, what's my favorite thing in the museum? And I say it's the journey. Because over the past 21 years I've been doing this journey, I have met everybody that you can think of. and many of them have become close friends. You know, I met Art Camacho through the museum. And we're the best of friends, you know, him and I. And many people I would have never had the opportunity to meet. The museum has provided that. And the museum has opened doors for many people to get in movies. We have the producers. We're right next to Disney Studios, the Burbank Studios, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon. So they're all down the street. And they all come here to our events. Every time we have an event, there's a producer. There's Alan Horn. There's somebody else. You know, there's a producer of this movie. And yesterday, the writer for Under Siege was here. So they're always coming here looking for ideas and then looking for people. And many people have gotten jobs and movie ideas, and people got even a show, host on a show, because we had an event here at the museum and someone recognized them, you know, or someone wanted them. Oh, that's the person I was looking for. They'll be perfect for that role. And sure enough, that Lucha Underground, one person got a role on a TV show because the producer was here. And they saw the person, they say, oh, they're perfect. So it has been a great place to connect people, and it has been a home for the martial arts, and that's what I always wanted to make it, a home for the martial arts worldwide, where people from every country can say, okay, we have a home, we have a headquarters, we have a place that we can go and call home, like a Starfleet headquarters is for the you know, Star Trek. I wanted that to be for the martial arts. And as we grow, you know, we'll have a big theater, we'll have restaurants, we'll have all this great stuff. Well, people will make this as part of their destination to say, look, I want to visit home. I want to visit the headquarters. You know, I want to see the Baseball Hall of Fame. You know, I want to go see the Martial Arts History Museum and see all the, you know, all the different things of martial arts there.
Now, did you you have a YouTube channel for the people that can't you know, make it out to the museum, that you're always posting stuff on, a lot of subscribers, that you update a lot of content, and they can find that just at the Martial Arts History Museum on YouTube, correct?
Right. You know, going through this horrible COVID thing, as you know, we've been shut down, and they just allowed us stores to open. But we need to find new ways, you know, to raise funds. And working with Cynthia Rothrock, Cynthia and I said to Cynthia, I said, Cynthia, your YouTube page has one video. That's it. And I said, you know, we can do something, you and I, with all I know about YouTube, you and I can do something together and see if we can make a little money off this. And she goes, okay, let's do it. We'll do it 50-50. I'll give half to the museum. And I said, great, okay. And so we did it. We took us 2 years because they kept denying us. 2 years to finally get monetized. And now we got 30,000 subscribers and a lot of views, and it's making a little bit of money, you know, not a ton, but a little bit of money, not like some of those kids are on YouTube. But it's making a little money. And I said, okay, now that the COVID's here, let me take everything I learned and put it in the museum's YouTube channel and see if we could do that. I should have done this earlier, dummy me, you know. But I took everything I learned, and I said, where's my YouTube channel? Let's see where it's at. And I said, oh, you know, I'm actually pretty close to getting monetized. If I get another couple hundred subscribers and some viewing hours, we can actually make a little money for the museum. And so within a past, a month I've had it up, I've already picked up like 200 or 300 subscribers, and our viewing hours is jumping up, and another couple months if people join in and help us out, we can get monetized, and that will make some income coming to the museum. And because, you know, some of these people make galore off YouTube, you know.
Yeah, some of those kids, like you said, that like my son watches, they're making millions.
Oh, I know. And imagine if we had that for the museum. You know, the kids don't know what to do with it. So they should get the museum. But, you know, to put all that work, to put everything I learned now with Cynthia stuff, I'm now applying it to here. and because of it, it has picked up steam. And I'm using all the programs that you use for keywords and all that stuff, you know. And the YouTube is going to be a nice way when we get everything monetized, which will look like it's going to happen in a month or so. And that will be a tremendous support for the museum, because we are now doing different things on there. We have a then and now, and we have biographies, and now we're doing a thing called Techniques coming up. Like the old Masters and Styles did with the magazines, we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be talking to many martial artists and doing a special thing coming up. We know we're going to get a lot of viewers from that, and that'll really help the museum. So we are running 2 campaigns, one on Facebook to help raise funds to get the museum through this patch of time, and then we're relaunching the museum's YouTube channel. And if everybody subscribes to it, we can, do well, and we won't have to be, you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah. I've shared
I've
shared the channel, and I'll share it again, and I'll have the link for everyone who wants to, take a second to subscribe and watch what they have. I'll have it on there. Do you guys have an online store?
We will be having an online store. We will be having that. I have focused my attention on doing biographies right now and doing the YouTube channel. And so I haven't had the opportunity to get the store really going. We do have a presence of a store online, but it's all hooked up to Amazon. All our DVDs, which we have about 20 of them, are all on Amazon, and all our books are on Amazon. So that's all on Amazon right now. But personally, from the museum, I haven't done that. That was my plan, and then COVID hit, and that kind of ruined everything. So I had to rearrange my thinking on how to do stuff. But we'll hit the mark. If we can get the YouTube up, that'll solve a lot of problems. And bring in some funds, and that will really help out, get us through this patch. When this whole thing started, I can tell you, when we started the museum in 1999, we had put a little money aside every year, or every month, just in case there would be a disaster. That something would come along, so we wouldn't have to worry about, what's coming in the next month to pay for everything. And that's what we did. We put money in an account, and sure enough, the disaster hit, and we have been drawing from those funds. So the museum itself is okay, but those funds are not going to last forever. Mm-hmm. And they keep extending this closure, and we can't have our events, which bring in the money. So there's an end of a tunnel there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's the bottom of a well that we can see. We're not there yet, but we can see it. So I'd rather head that off at the pass and do these fundraising campaigns and do this YouTube channel and see if we can raise money, so that way we can get us through this patch. And then once the vaccines are done, we can start, reopening everything. But we don't know how long that's going to take. You know what I mean? It may take 4 or 5 months more. Who knows? I have no idea. But that's what we're trying to do to avoid catastrophe of having to say, give us, help us fund the museum. We're going to close next week. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So right now, while we are still able to, we are now seeking their support to make sure we'll weather through this huge patch coming up and get us through. So that's what we're pushing, the Facebook and the YouTube channel.
And are you guys on, as I know you have the Facebook, are you guys on Twitter?
We are on Twitter. I'm not a good Twitter guy, but everything I put on Facebook, I mean on YouTube, I click the button and it goes to Twitter. So everything I post as far as items go there, but as far as information and stuff, I kind of focus on Facebook. Facebook has been our biggest, the most response we've gotten is through Facebook than anything else.
Yeah, same for me.
Our ads and all that stuff, Facebook, even though we've put ads on everything else, the Facebook has been the best of everything else. So we're kind of focusing more on that because we get a more response from that.
Do you have an Instagram?
Oh, yes, we do. Which I hardly use.
Oh, now that would be the good one. You could have take pictures of different displays every day.
Yeah, I'm an idiot in that area, in Instagram. I've barely gotten the handle on Facebook, doing it okay, and then putting stuff on Twitter. But Instagram, I need a lot of help.
I'm just learning it. I'll be honest with you. It has not been my forte, so to speak, as of yet.
Oh, these things are animals, I tell you. What I have learned on YouTube, and based on trial and error, based on watching a lot of YouTube channels to see what they've done, it has helped me tremendously. And it is my goal, once I learn how to do all this stuff and really get people's, be able to put stuff on YouTube and all that and then make some money, it is my goal to share that with everybody for our community. I do that right now with books. I write a new book every year, and I put out a video on showing people how to do a book. Everything you want to know. I've done seminars and stuff like that, for people to learn how to do that so they won't lose a lot of money. And that's what I'm going to do, the same thing with YouTube coming up. Everything I've learned, I'm going to put it on a video, make it free and available to everybody, and that way they can monetize their school, whatever they can do to help keep the martial arts alive, because, our schools are closing like crazy, and hopefully this will be a new pathway that they can help bring in some funds to the school.
You have a Patreon page, too, as well, correct?
Yes, but it doesn't do well. We got 5 followers, and we've had 5 followers for about a year.
Well, if you become a Patreon, what all do you get?
You get all of the biographies. We do, one of the things I wanted to do is like A&E does, our History Channel. They make a nice biography of a pioneer or somebody. And I said, we need that. We need a nice professional biography. There's stuff out there on YouTube and stuff out there and here and there. But I said, the museum, I have to say, because of going back to school all those years, I do this place professionally. I've compared my stuff to the Natural History Museum and everybody else, who those museums have been so kind to help me out as well. It is equal to their level as far as professionalism. And I have done that same thing with the biographies. I wanted to make biographies of our significant pioneers, and that's what we've done. We make a series of biographies, and for the Patreon people, we give them the biography first. They get it before anybody else. They get the free DVD of every time we put something out, and any other insights that we have, we give it to them first, and sometimes only to them. So they get a sneak peek of everything else before anybody else does. And, so we kind of cater to them in that way. So I had done other stuff for it, but the biographies seems to be the most popular. So that's what I've been kind of focusing on, the biographies for the Patreon. They get first dibs, they get the free DVD, and that's what we offer on Patreon.
What's been your most popular biography?
Oh, let's see now. That's a great question. I would say out of all these biographies, I would say the Carl Totten one has been our most popular. We have Cynthia, we have Al Leong, we have Joe Kimura, we have a lot of people on here. But I would say the Carl Totten one has been the most popular. As the martial arts industry, we're a small niche industry compared to everybody else. Unlike the sci-fi industry where people got money galore and those guys will buy anything, martial artists aren't that rich. And, we don't sell a lot of biographies, I can tell you that. The main goal to make the biographies was to be for our Hall of Fame wall. When we relocate to a new location, this will be part of the wall. So when someone touches someone's name, this video is going to show. That's the reason for the biographies. But it's nice to have it, on Amazon to make a little money, and here at the museum to make a little money as well. And we put a real professional job in our biographies. It really does the people justice who's on there, and it's part of their history. And we have signings. We have a day here. We show the biography, and people can sign in. It's very exciting, But to have that, as part of their possession is kind of special. And that's why we've kind of done it. And it helps the museum, brings in little funds, and helps us out. And I enjoy doing it. I edit the whole thing, and either I shoot it or somebody else shoots it, or I direct it, or it's a lot of fun to do. But it's a nice way to keep that history alive in video form here at the museum.
Now, for everybody listening, excuse me. Like I said, all the links are in there, people. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Be a patron. You're going to get biography DVDs. What more could you want? You help out on Amazon. And when the COVID's over, please, I know I'm going to go visit the museum. Go do one of the exhibitions. Do you have any big plans that you can let us know? Maybe like the first thing that might happen when the COVID's over? Any big day you have upcoming?
Oh, that would be nice. We really, this has become a nice home. People pop in to visit all the time, to hang out. We got a lot of people they just come over. They've seen the museum many times, but they just want to be a part of it. So they come over here. That's why I got chairs here already set up, because almost every other day we got some pioneer or somebody just to want to hang out at the museum. You know what I mean? And I think that's important to have. And I think when this is over, we're going to have a huge party at the museum, get everybody together, and that'll be a lot of fun to have. But, again, this COVID has been a tragedy of the martial arts world. Like, about 90% of martial arts schools are going to close, sad to say. It's just a reality. It's a sad reality. I'm hoping we can bounce back from this, but, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But at least we can have the museum here to have some sort of homage, if you can say that, some place that we can at least gather and be together or hold events together that at the Martial Arts History Museum. Again, it has not been an easy road. It has not been. I've poured myself into this. I don't even get paid. I've never gotten paid. It would be nice to get paid, but everything I would make goes to the museum. We are a nonprofit 501c3, so all the donations are tax deductible. But, this has been, I can say again, and I've said it before, it has been a wonderful journey that I have been honored just to be a small part of. The museum is for all of us. It's not my dream, not just my dream, but it's the dreams of all of us, that we can have a place to gather and pay respect and pay honor. I watch a movie. I love this movie. It's A League of Their Own. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the movie, there's this Gina Davis, the older Gina Davis. She bumps into the little kid that says, "You're gonna lose." Remember that scene? And he says, when I heard about this museum, I knew I had to be there for Mom's sake. Mm-hmm. And that to me, that's the same thing I think of. It's you may or may not, whoever may or may not be in the museum, but it is a place where we, our history, our ties to judo, our ties to karate, where it came from. This is that connection. And it is my hope that people see the museum in that way, that it's they had to be there, to pay their respects and to give honor to the martial arts that has done so much for us. What better way to give honor to the martial arts than to have a museum?
I want to thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a great honor, and I hope everybody listening comes and helps and supports you guys.
Well, thank you, Corey. It's been a blast to be on here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. You have been listening to the Chronicles of Hollywood History. Thank you from Gomez Richmond Productions.